Hey, and welcome to Matt and Jess TV. I am Matt Rose.
And I'm Jessica Bun Bun.
Welcome to our Survivor 48 Episode 6 reaction and review. I feel like there needs to be a proper name for these episodes where it seems like we're going to have a merge and then Probst comes in and it's like, you must earn the merge.
I know.
Is this the wanna merge, like wanna be in the merge episode? Just merge. Like, I don't understand all of this silliness and semantics and all of that. It's not this big shining moment 48 seasons into this show that you get this big fancy clean new merge buff.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like we're dragging out the merge here. Like it was quite a journey to get to the merge, but we are finally at it.
This is an interesting episode because I feel like if you're watching for characters, interesting moments for the people, getting to know people, getting to root for them, this is a good episode. If you're watching for blindsides or like, OMG, my jaw is on the ground tribal council moments, this is a blah episode because Charity, you might want to stop watching right now, but you're just not a good player. And it was just that at some point this season, you were going to be voted out because you just couldn't get anybody on your side.
I just was having a hard time watching her because I am a person who really is watching for the people. So there's, really big moments this episode, like with Star, who is easily one of my favorites. I haven't made it any secret that I really like Say, and, I'm not on the tribe with Say, so I can't speak on whether or not she's likable or not likable, but hearing Charity kind of be like, oh, Say's just not likable. Like, I feel like, we could just get her out. I'm just like, wow, that just sounds mean. Like, for what reason would you be going there with her? I feel like Say has just been getting dunked on by Charity, by Chrissy with the food shaming. Like, the more that this is happening, the more I'm just like, Say all day.
Here's the fundamental difference in my book between Say and Charity is that Charity will act one way to one person and then act totally different to another person in a way that makes her very untrustworthy. And she may be very nice in real life, but in the game, this is a very huge red flag. Say, like her or don't like her, you know exactly where Say stands at just about any given moment, to the point where she tells Cedric after this tribal council where he did nothing wrong on this past episode, I'm not even going to talk to you anymore. It's so frustrating, but at the same time, you know where Say is, and there's something that is entertaining about that as a viewer.
I completely understand where Say is coming from with Cedric. She's been like left in the dark so many times now that she doesn't know what is going on when we see her at the beginning of this episode being like, don't even talk to me, because this is like the third or fourth time that she's just like, I do not know what is going on. I've trusted you over and over again. Like, forget it. I'm done. That's why for me, it was no surprise that she wrote down Cedric at the end. I was like, girl, I understand.
See, Say, I hope you take this as a compliment, but I've said before, you remind me, I don't know why I'm talking to all these survivors in this video like they're watching, but Say, I've said you remind me of Tony. I'm staying with that. You also remind me a little bit of Coach. Once again, not an insult, where it's just, I love watching you. If I was playing the game with you, I would probably want you out as soon as possible, just because you're either doing way too much or I know you're going to be the most competitive person alive. And I don't want to compete with someone who is more competitive than me. Like, that's troublesome.
I'm happy to have her around a little bit longer than everybody's sort of like targeting her right now. She is competitive. That's totally fine. I know we're at the merge now and it's everybody for themselves, but it's still, there's a lot of people here, and being with someone like Say, who is competitive, who is loyal, like, if you're not doing her dirty, she's not writing your name down. Like, I know that she doesn't always keep all the secrets, but it feels like that's mostly coming out at times where it kind of doesn't matter anymore.
It's true. Well, we'll talk about some of the philosophies towards, Say, the ultimate move to get rid of Charity, who's in a good spot now. Before we do, though, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we are here with the rest of Survivor 48. A lot more reviews coming your way. We've said this before, but we're also going to be back doing Big Brother this summer. We don't want you guys to miss all of that. And also, if you love The Last of Us on HBO, and you really should, it's premiering very, very soon. It's just a little more than a week away, and we're going to have all sorts of reviews and coverage for that as well.
Yeah, we're covering right now The White Lotus, Yellow Jackets, The Last of
Mhm.
Us is coming up, Handmaid's Tale, there's Dexter this summer. There is a lot that is coming up. So hit that subscribe button, stick with us. And if you want more Survivor talk, you can follow us over on Patreon and chat with us there.
Yeah.
We're also covering The Pit exclusively over on our Patreon. And we are also covering Bosch Legacy, which is in its final season over at our Patreon. And it is the only place that you can get those videos. So thank you so much to everyone who is helping us, and supporting us here at the channel by joining our Patreon.
Thank you guys so much. Now, let's talk a little bit about this episode of Survivor through the lens of physical comedy, because there are a couple of physical comedy moments that I love, starting with Say, who gets this advantage for the immunity challenge, which, doesn't actually turn out to be that much of an advantage, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But I love the way that they framed this, where it seemed like Say came completely out of nowhere from the middle of the jungle to run up and take this. It felt like if I was watching a basketball game, it's like, oh, Say has checked herself into the game and she's immediately dunking the basketball.
It was awesome. I loved seeing it. The minute that Charity's kind of like, oh, I'm going to start following her around. I hate that. I
Yeah.
really do. And I know that Say does it as well. And everybody does it where they're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I see so-and-so going over here. I'm just going to follow them. It's kind of like, okay, well, that's fine. You can do that. But then don't be mad when Say comes out and snatches that advantage.
No, and good for her. You got to do whatever you can, especially
Yes.
she had to be in the mindset. It's like, okay, the Vula tribe has done terribly so far this game. We're
Yeah.
easily outnumbered. We could be really, really easy targets. But before we get to even the challenges in the aftermath of all of that, I'll have a brief check-in here with Sitcom Dave. Now, we've all talked about this lens for this guy this season, and you know how in a sitcom like episode season 5, season 6, you're running out of ideas, and it's sort of like you can't have Dave run onto the stage to mass applause being like, I'm gonna get more milk, and then everybody cheers. So you bring in somebody who is just like him, who is also getting milk. That was the David and Joe conversation where it felt like this sitcom is about to be canceled. And it's like, oh, now we need 2 of these guys to obsess over milk on screen.
Oat milk all day, guys. I'm not here for this milk talk. I'm not. I'm so over it at this point. Maybe it's because we have been watching The Boys and we just finished watching Mayfair Witches, and there's so much like a milk comedy that's going on right now that it's just getting tired. It's like, when it was the vampire craze and everything is vampires. By the end of it, you're done with it. And then it's zombies and everything is zombies. Now it's milk. The past couple of years, it's been milk comedy that at this point, I'm just like, I'm kind of done with it.
Okay, tinfoil hat.
Oh, dear.
Has Big Dairy infiltrated reality
Right?
television and they're trying to plant their secret agents to advertise their products. Now, I still love Joe. I'm fine with there no milk conversations happening the rest of the season.
The one conversation, though, that I did find tough to watch, and it's just, I like to root for people who are playing the game. I like to root for people who are playing with integrity or not playing with integrity. I really just am into the personalities. It's more about that for me. Like, Team Guyana for me. I have a personal connection there because, we all have the same background kind of thing. But it always just irks me the wrong way when you get a group of players together that are like, we're going to play with integrity and honesty, and it's time for integrity and honesty to win this. It's like, okay, that's great, but it doesn't have to be the platform that you're on. You're on Survivor. It is okay to lie and scheme and keep secrets. It's part of gameplay, and it's okay also to play with integrity and honesty and all that. But I'm always sitting here being like, well, you can't play with complete honesty and integrity because you're still part of an alliance that you have to keep secrets in. And there's, you're not being honest if you're not sharing everything with the rest of the group. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It always just kind of like rubs me the wrong way. I'm just not into it. It makes it feel like they're doing something right and everyone else is doing something wrong. And there is no wrong way to play this game.
Yeah, it really just kind of goes down this narrative line of we're the good guys, they are the bad guys. And I don't like that either. And it's ironic because this group who's sort of talking about it, Eva, Joe, David, Shaheen, Kaya, like there's a lot of people in this group I like, and I'm okay if you want to play with honor, integrity, all that sometimes, but just own it when you're not doing it because that's a part of Survivor. I also just find it really hilarious, and not everybody in this group obviously knows this, that Kyle is in the honor and integrity group while he has a secret alliance and while he was able to pull off that Thomas vote with Camilla's help. That was a total not honor and integrity move.
I love him, and I love that he is like, okay, yeah, I'm part of this alliance,
Yeah.
but my real alliance is over here. I'm going to continue to make these moves and scheme like this is Survivor. If somebody
Yeah.
asks you to be in an alliance, the answer is yes. You're never going to be like, no, you know what? I'm good. I don't want to be part of the integrity group.
Yeah.
I'm over here with the schemers. Like, what choice does he really have, right? But he
Yeah.
will then be able to continue to bring information back to the people he's really working with.
Yeah, it does really feel like, I think Shaheen probably has the same value set here as Kyle. I don't think Shaheen is digging through people's bags. I don't think he is all about honor and integrity either. But if Eva, Joe, or David, if that's like really the way they want to play, take one of them to the end of the game because odds are they will have lied at some point and then they won't own it and then they will probably lose because everybody will think that they're being too condescending and holier than thou at
Yes.
the final tribal council.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's start to talk a little bit about these challenges because here's the thing, Probst. You give, say, this advantage that she can go to the second stage. This is the most useless advantage of all time because this is basically a challenge where you're holding a stick with a giant ball at the end of it. You're either good at it or you're not good at it. No amount of rest or preparation is going to put you in a better spot, as evidenced by the fact that Say lost this.
Yeah, I mean, is it a great advantage? Maybe not great, but at the same time, I mean, it takes a lot of arm power to be holding that for a long period of time. It's endurance, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, your arms are going to start to feel like noodles and they're going to start to hurt, right? So, if you haven't been exercising them, crawling through the mud and all this other stuff, yeah, maybe an advantage. But, unfortunately, it didn't work out for her here. But my guy Kyle, you
Yes.
take home the win. I loved seeing Star go as far as she did too. I mean, all my favorite players are doing really well.
Yeah, I would last 5 seconds in this challenge. Mr. Cerebral Palsy over here trying to hold something like that when I can't even really put my hand up and have it be still for longer than a few seconds. This would have been very bad for me. Good for Kyle. Also good for Kyle at this point that nobody is still talking about him like he's a threat, even though,
Shocking.
yeah, even though people know that he had that idol play, and I'm sure some former members of that tribe have talked a little bit about it. I mean, everybody seems to be talking already about the fact that Eva has an idol, and there was discussion as to whether or not she was going to play it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting move to see Charity kind of be like, Star, you should go ask for that idol back.
Yep.
Star just sitting there being like, why would I do that? Like, it's such a terrible move. Why would Star go and be like, you know what? Actually, we had this moment and we're friends now, but can I have that idol back? This makes no sense. It's terrible gameplay.
Yep.
I didn't understand it, but it was great gameplay for her to then go and tell Eva what happened. It was like, just so you know, this was just happening. I'm not here to ask for it back. I'm just here to tell you because we're friends.
Yeah, Charity, you're just not good. Like, this is an example of like one of the worst things you can possibly
So
do.
weird.
It's really similar to Thomas and Thomas's whole suggestions during the whole idol hunt with Star earlier this season, where it's just sort of like, if you're thinking this diabolically, where you're like, oh, you should take this idol back from someone, everyone knows the sort of level and capability that you have within the game. So no matter
Yes.
how like nice you may try to project yourself to other people, they know you're capable of this. And it seems like the only real friend you had out there at this point was Mitch, and nobody else is willing to stick their neck out for you in this game. And it's all cumulative, where I kind of feel like the only reason Charity lasted this long was because she wasn't really in a spot where she was going to tribal council all the time before.
Yeah.
It's just not good at all. But okay, we got to talk about two things in the aftermath of this challenge. Number one, Jeff. I feel like I've had a beef with you every single challenge
I
so far this
know.
season. You were sitting there, like, staring at David during the challenge and being like, David, looking right at me. He's like trying to make David laugh in the middle of the challenge.
Yeah, I've never really enjoyed Jeff getting involved in challenges and kind of like moving things in different directions with some of the stuff that he says. It's too much of a distraction.
I only like it when people talk back to Jeff and they put Jeff in his place, where it's just like, Jeff, you are not a main character in this. You can go over there, be quiet. Okay, only thing I really have to say about the reward, because it's not really that interesting to me to watch
No.
people sit down and eat, is that could you guys not give them a bucket of water or allow them to dip in the water for like 2 minutes before they do this? I'm having to watch everyone other than Say, who is just nice and clean, sitting there eating, having a good time. Everyone else looks disgusting and repulsive. I did not like any second of this. I don't want to watch muddy people eat.
Yeah, it was a bit difficult to watch that whole scene play out. I kind of had hoped there'd be a little more strategy talk than there was, but I mean, this group of people's not really working together.
No, they're really, really not. Okay, you've already mentioned Star, so it's time to talk about our Star is our Star segment of
I
this week.
just love her so much. Like watching Cedric struggle in a challenge and Star come over and be like, "Listen, you're a champ. You're doing the most. Like people would be really proud of you. Your kids would be so proud of you. She's giving him like the pep talk he needs. How proud she is of Cedric." And I'm just like, I am so proud of you, Star. Like were the person who was like stuck by yourself for a while, where you had like your whole tribe's out at the beach having a fire. You're nowhere. They're not including you. And for you to have such a positive attitude and to be still out there like champing for people, I watch this show for the people, and I'm watching this show for Star.
Okay, I'm going to have a little bit of a story time here, and hopefully this is not too narcissistic, but I'm going to tell the story anyway, because Star, at this point in the game, is probably reminding me more of myself on Beauty and the Geek than any other contestant I've seen in a really long time.
No, I can see that.
Because, on my season 5, aka we got the show canceled, but I started out, and they didn't show this that much on the show when it aired, but I was really kind of an outsider for the first episode or two. I didn't have a lot of friends. I wasn't hanging out in a lot of large groups. I was really, really struggling, and I related a lot to Star in that aspect of it. But as time went on, I started to find my place, and I kind of became this positive person in the game that people could lean on, people could encourage. And so I kind of saw myself a lot in Star when she was having that conversation, trying to make other people feel good, because it may be a natural part of who Star is, which is awesome, but it's also a smart game move to sort of be there for other people so that they just want to keep you around personality-wise. Like, that saved me on a couple of occasions on this season. But then beyond all of that, the moment that really sealed it for me with Star is Star going up to the voting confessional, and this is the funniest thing of the entire episode. She's just like dancing, having a great time. I danced my way out of that show when I was eliminated, but then she gets the cap and she fumbles it, and it just like blings. This is so me. I am so clumsy. I would totally do this, Star, where I'm like, I'm having a moment. I'm having great TV. Whoops, what happened?
She's just such great TV for me. She's so relatable.
Yeah.
She's so kind. Like you're saying, these could be seen as game moves.
Yeah.
But none of that is coming across on the show. She just genuinely cares about people.
Yeah, and I'm also sitting here kind of mad at this integrity alliance, where it's just like,
I'm mad at it. I don't like it.
You guys are all advocating we're, these big physical threats. We're the meat shield. It's like, Star's a basketball player. Why is Star not in the, athletic, meat shield alliance here?
I'm glad she's not part of it. She is her own thing. I don't want to see her part of that alliance. That alliance is completely irritating me. And I'm aware that your guy Joe is in there, and Joe is a good guy. And, I'm not saying Dave or any of them are not good guys. It's what I said. It makes it seem like they're the good guys and everybody else are bad people. And that's always been my issue on Big Brother, Survivor, whatever, where it's like, we have integrity. It's like, okay, so what are you saying about the other players? They don't have integrity because they're lying on a show or keeping secrets on a show where that's part of gameplay? Stop.
Here is what I think the trajectory for Joe is going to be. And I say this as Joe's biggest champion personality-wise in this game, is that he's going to finish in like 8th place or 7th place. And that's going to be a good spot because he will come off with a really good edit. People will really like him. Maybe he will get back on another season of the show at some point down the
Mhm.
line. But it's just the way that he's playing the game, he's an obvious duo with Eva. This is not like your team Guyana, who is just somehow, in a way that continues to befuddle me,
Completely.
completely snowing over everybody. And it's just, they've just done a much better job of hiding their allegiance. Joe's obviously a big physical guy, really likable. If he makes it to the end of this season, it feels like he's almost a slam dunk. And he's got like a lot of emotional stories. I've read a little bit on his backstory, and he's been through a lot in his life. I'm sure he shared some of that with the people in the game, and that's just going to make him an even bigger target.
Joe is a great guy, but I just don't see him winning the season. And it
No.
feels a lot like it's going to be the same for Eva, who is playing a pretty good game. Like, I know obviously she had that breakdown that happened in the last episode, and Joe came over, and
Yep.
then, they really bonded. But I think if Joe goes, that could actually help her get a little bit further. But I just don't think she's going to end up being able to win.
No, and I think Say had a pretty good read on it at times in this episode.
Yes,
And once again, I know not everybody likes Say, but Say,
I do.
we will be your defenders here because you are maybe too aggressive at times, but I think your mindset is correct, where it's like, why would you want someone in the game, especially at this point, who has an idol who
Right,
is not your best friend? You
right.
don't know what's going to happen. She could play that idol at any time, and if all the votes are on her, she could vote you out of the game with just one vote. And I think if Say makes it to the end of the game, yeah, she might rub some people the wrong way, but she's going to have such an incredible case where she's just going to be like, I was a target the whole season. I played
Yes.
my butt off at every single second. I'm telling you right now, unless Say just does like something absolutely awful, and I don't think she would, I would probably vote for Say if she made it to the end of the game.
Oh, I would vote for Say at the end of the game for her being, a really hard game player, but being an underdog because of it.
Yeah,
And, having some of these relationships have been a bit more difficult. Watching her have some growth in that as well. Like
yeah.
watching her and Mary see each other on the beach and hug each other the way that they did. Mary didn't vote for her at the end. I was just like, it is really nice to see all these different sort of moving pieces with Say, where Say was even like, yeah, now that we're at this merge, I'm going to play things a little bit different. I'm going to kind of sit in the background a little bit and sort of watch things and see how it all plays out. Like, she's really adaptable in that way, and she is very loyal. I would absolutely vote for her.
Okay, now let's just get into the decision here because it's pretty clear going into Tribal that, okay, the vote is between Charity and Say.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think is the right move to make here? I don't think there's a wrong move to make of the two, but it's interesting because I think there's a very different case for each one of them.
Yeah, I think that Say is the wrong move. I think that she's a really strong player, and to keep her around for right now, and the fact that she is somebody that a lot of people are targeting, great. Then they're not targeting me. So let's have her around a little bit longer. It's the Wes Bergman game of not me. Let's always have somebody else that's a little bit of a bigger target
Yeah.
for a little while. And Charity, she wasn't going to be as big of a target as Say. I would rather have Say in the game longer than Charity.
I 100% agree with you. Like I went back and forth when I was watching this episode, but there were just a few really compelling arguments to get rid of Charity at this point. Just starting with the idea, and they mentioned this, is that if all of the original Siva people are in the game, that's going to create this false illusion that
Yes.
they're all working together. Nobody wants that. This gets back, of course, to what we were talking about earlier in the episode. Well, this episode is just that, Say, you kind of sort of know where she is. Like, she wears her emotions on her sleeve, which,
Yes.
can be a detriment to her game, but it's also good because you know that, okay, odds are you have a sense as to where she might stand. And yeah, she might be troublesome at times because she plays so hard, but you don't know where Charity stands because she's telling all these different things to a number of different people.
Yeah, at least for me, I feel like if you're in a game with Say, you know where she stands on things, and you can kind of figure out how she's going to move about. But yeah, Charity, you just don't really know, and I would rather know than not know, where Charity can go behind my back and
Yeah.
be like, "You should go take that idol back." What? This is
Oh,
just crazy gameplay. Like, I don't want somebody that I have to compete with that's so unpredictable like that.
Okay, let's all now say thank you, Survivor Gods, members of this, I guess now, they weren't merged, but now merged tribe for keeping Say in the game. Because even if Say doesn't win, like she doesn't have that great a chance, just that's the same with every player, right? There's still a lot of people left. We get to have her on the jury. And I feel like as a viewer, I don't need Charity on the jury because she didn't stand out that much other than being a little bit duplicitous. We're in a really good spot now in this season because there's just a lot of characters left who are going to make the end of this game really, really fun.
I can't wait to sort of see how Say's vote really played out in this next episode, or at least I'm hoping they're going to show us more
Yes.
because I understand why she voted for Cedric, but at the same time, she's got to be looking at those votes being like, cool, so nobody talked to me about the Charity vote, and clearly nobody talked to me about the vote against me, so nobody's talking to me. She's got to be worried that she does not have people that are talking to her about what is going on.
It's time to put on the beef hat now because this is the
All right, beef hat. Let's
third
go.
time this season that we've been in this position where I don't feel like we got a good story with the votes. We didn't get a good story about Kyle and Camilla and their advantage until the next episode played out. We didn't get a good story as to what happened on this past vote until the start of this episode where Cedric was like, yeah, I was able to have a conversation with Chrissy. And now, like you said, we don't really have a good sense as to why Say voted though, because it feels like without that story, it's just like, okay, Say you're annoyed at Cedric, and Say's a smarter player than that. I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think, like you said, she probably had a conversation with someone, but I think not seeing that on the show, it really cheapens what's going on. And then beyond all that, here are the people who voted quote unquote correctly. Chrissy, Star, Cedric, Kyle, Joe, Mary, Camilla. There's no real edit on this episode that it's like, okay, this specific, we talked about blob alliances on Big Brother before. It's like, okay, this specific blob of people. The only thing that I can really count on from this group here is that, okay, so Camilla and Kyle, Team Guyana, they managed to vote together.
Of course.
It's not even Joe and Eva voted together. It's just like, this is just a random assortment of people. And maybe it was all like, maybe somebody has an idol or not. I don't know. It was just not very clear while watching it.
No, I agree. I would like to know how this came together because it felt very random.
And this is the other thing that's probably a little bit disappointing about the end of this. Like, did you ever think for a split second that Say was getting voted out this episode? Because I did not.
I didn't think so. I mean, I know normally they seem to like to stack the votes in the canister of like, oh, we're going to try to do 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And then all of a sudden it's all the ones that are with the person that's going home. So, I mean, there was a second there that I was like that, but I was like, that many votes on Say? That just doesn't seem right.
The only thing I will say is that I hope this means that we're getting a split tribe because split tribes so much more fun than seeing people picked off one by one as we move forward this season.
Yeah, I don't want to watch people have to just win immunities to the end to be able to stay in the game. It's never fun.
No, it's really not. But in general, I mean, this was a fun episode. It's just anticlimactic with how everything went down at the end. It's kind of necessary, but now sort of like the wanna merge. I hope I don't even remember what I called it earlier, but it's like the wanna merge. It's like the game players are in limbo this whole episode to get to the merge. We were all in limbo this whole episode. We'll see exactly what happens from here, but what did you guys think about Survivor 48 episode 6? Who are you rooting for? Let us know in the comments and hit that subscribe button so you guys do not miss anything else, and you can support us further by joining our Patreon. That link is in the description. We are covering their Bosch Legacy exclusively in video form, as well as The Pit, which is exceptional, and we are getting really close to the end of that season. Thank you guys
for
your support. We'll see you here next time.